The rover, called Perseverance, survived a perilous high-speed plunge through the Martian atmosphere and made it safely onto the surface of the red planet.
For over a decade, NASA has been busy exploring Mars, and the discoveries just keep getting more exciting. 13 years ago, NASA made history by sending the Curiosity rover to Mars. This was a huge deal because Curiosity wasn't just any rover. It was built to explore, map the planet's terrain, and search for signs of ancient life. Fast forward to 3 years ago, and NASA added a new member to the Martian team, Perseverance. Now, after years of exploration, these two robotic explorers have sent back something that's truly out of this world. Literal footage from Mars. The images and videos are stunning, showing us detailed views of Mars's surface, which is filled with rocky landscapes, towering hills, and deep craters. So, what exactly are we seeing here? And what else have these rovers been up to since they touched down on the red planet? The first Mars exploration, Mars, or as many people like to call it, the red planet, has always held a special place in our imagination. For centuries, we've looked up at this reddish dot in the night sky, wondering what mysteries it might hold. Is there life? Could we live there? What's it really like? These questions have fueled our fascination, but it wasn't until the space age, when technology finally caught up with our curiosity, that we started to get some real answers. Back in 1964, NASA launched the Mariner 4 spacecraft, marking humanity's first successful mission to Mars. This was a flyby mission, meaning the spacecraft didn't land on Mars but simply zoomed past it. Still, it was a groundbreaking moment because Mariner 4 sent back the first ever close-up pictures of Mars. Before this, we had no idea what the surface really looked like. When those images arrived, we were surprised to find a cratered surface, much like our moon. This discovery showed us that Mars wasn't the smooth, Earth-like planet some had imagined, but rather a place with its own unique, rugged beauty. This moment was huge. It was like the spark that lit the fire of Mars exploration. Suddenly, the idea of understanding this neighboring planet became more than just a dream. We had seen it, and now we wanted to know more. The space race was heating up, and Mars was squarely in our sights. And so, NASA did something interesting. Viking missions, searching for life on Mars. In the years that followed, there were several attempts to learn more about Mars, but one of the most impressive was NASA's Viking program in the 1970s. Viking 1 and Viking 2 weren't just passing by Mars, they actually landed on the surface. This was a big deal because it allowed us to conduct experiments on Mars itself. Both Viking landers were equipped with tools to search for signs of life. They scooped up soil samples, analyzed them, and sent the results back to Earth. While the results didn't confirm any clear signs of life, they gave us a much deeper understanding of Mars's soil, atmosphere, and weather patterns. It was during this time that we began to realize just how challenging it would be to find life, or evidence of past life, on Mars. The soil seemed sterile, and the harsh conditions, with extreme cold and radiation, made the planet seem even more hostile than we had imagined. But the Vikings provided invaluable data that shaped every Mars mission that followed. Fast forward to the 1990s, and Mars exploration was reaching new heights. One of the standout missions of this era was Mars Pathfinder, which delivered the Sojourner rover in 1997. Sojourner was a small rover, about the size of a microwave, with 6 wheels that allowed it to move around Mars's rocky surface. This little rover wasn't just a test of our ability to land on Mars. It was proof that we could move around and explore, taking close-up looks at rocks and soil. Sojourner wasn't fast, but it was a huge leap forward in how we could study Mars. The Sojourner mission inspired more ambitious projects in the years that followed. In the 2000s, when Mars exploration got even more exciting, NASA launched the Mars Global Surveyor, which orbited the planet and mapped its surface in incredible detail. This mission gave us high-resolution images of Mars's landscapes, mountains, valleys, canyons, and even signs of ancient water flows. Around the same time, in 2001, the Mars Odyssey mission was launched. Odyssey made a groundbreaking discovery by detecting large amounts of hydrogen just beneath the Martian surface. This was important because hydrogen often means water, and where there's water, there's a possibility of life, or at least the potential for humans to survive there one day. Each mission to Mars builds on the one before it, giving us a clearer picture of this mysterious planet. We've come a long way from those early flyby missions. Today, rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance roam the Martian surface, conducting experiments and looking for signs that life might have existed there in the past. The dream of sending humans to Mars seems more realistic now than ever before. Every discovery, from the Viking lander's soil samples to Odyssey's detection of hydrogen, suggests that Mars might hold more secrets than we ever imagined. But why is studying Mars so important? Why don't we go to Venus or Mercury? Why Mars? Well, it comes down to one main reason. Mars is the most Earth-like planet in our solar system. While Venus is scorching hot with toxic clouds, and Mercury is either blistering or freezing depending on its position relative to the Sun, Mars sits in the sweet spot where conditions are a bit more familiar. It has seasons, polar ice caps, and even weather patterns, things we recognize from our own experience here on Earth. These similarities make Mars a prime candidate for study because by understanding Mars, we can learn more about Earth's history and possibly its future. After all, both planets likely formed under similar conditions. Another reason Mars is so important is that it could be a backup home for humanity. With Earth facing serious challenges like climate change, overpopulation, and resource depletion, Mars offers a potential second option. While colonizing Mars is still a distant goal, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. Before we can seriously think about living there, though, we need to get to know the planet better. And that's where these missions come into play. They help us answer crucial questions about Mars' environment, its potential to support life, and how we could one day survive there. NASA's Rover missions. Robotic pioneers on Mars. NASA's Rover missions have been leading the charge when it comes to understanding Mars. These rovers are like mini scientists on wheels, each equipped with a range of tools designed to study the planet's surface and atmosphere in detail. The first major success in this line of missions was the Mars Pathfinder, which included the Sojourner rover. In 2004, NASA sent twin rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, to explore different regions of Mars. What's amazing is that these rovers were only expected to operate for 90 days, but they far exceeded those expectations. Spirit explored Gusev Crater, a site that scientists thought might have once held a lake. It navigated through rough terrain and analyzed rocks, giving us valuable insights into Mars's geological history. Meanwhile, Opportunity was busy making history of its own. It explored the Meridiani Planum region and found solid evidence that liquid water once existed on Mars. Despite their long and productive missions, both Spirit and Opportunity eventually stopped communicating. With those successes in hand, NASA set its sights on building even more advanced rovers that could push the boundaries of exploration. Curiosity, a next-generation rover. One of NASA's most ambitious efforts came with the Curiosity rover. Launched on November 26, 2011, as part of the Mars Science Laboratory mission, Curiosity represented a new era in Mars exploration. It was much bigger and more advanced than any rover before it. After a long 9-month journey through space, Curiosity finally reached Mars on August 6, 2012, landing in Gale Crater, a location chosen because scientists believed it might have once contained water. But the landing was anything but simple. In fact, it was so nerve-wracking that it's now famously known as the 7 minutes of terror. During those 7 minutes, a series of complex steps had to happen perfectly for Curiosity to land safely. This included a sky crane maneuver, which was a daring new technique that had never been tried before. Essentially, the rover was lowered down from a hovering spacecraft using cables. Talk about high stakes. Fortunately, everything went according to plan, and Curiosity landed safely, ready to begin its mission. Curiosity immediately started sending back images from the Martian surface, offering us a detailed look at its new home. But the real mission was just beginning. Curiosity was designed to answer some of the biggest questions about Mars, including whether the planet could have ever supported life. Equipped with state-of-the-art instruments, Curiosity began studying rocks, soil, and the atmosphere to uncover clues about Mars's ancient environment. Now, what exactly makes Curiosity so special? Curiosity's gadgets. Curiosity is packed with all kinds of cool gadgets to help it explore the red planet. Imagine it as the size of a car. It's about 10 feet long, 9 feet wide, and 7 feet tall. That's like a small SUV. And get this, it weighs nearly 2,000 pounds. One of its most impressive tools is called the ChemCam. It sounds futuristic, right? Well, it's basically a laser gun that zaps rocks and soil, turning them into gas. Then it analyzes that gas to see what the rocks and soil are made of. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's real. There's another amazing piece of tech on Curiosity called the Sample Analysis at Mars, or SAM for short. SAM is kind of like a mini lab on the rover. It can study the chemical makeup of the samples Curiosity collects, including searching for organic compounds. And organic compounds are a huge deal because they could tell us if Mars ever had life. So SAM is like a little detective looking for clues about ancient life on Mars. Curiosity runs on a pretty special power source too. It uses something called a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, or RTG. This power source turns the heat from plutonium-238, which is a radioactive material, into electricity. What's cool is that this lets Curiosity work all the time, day or night, summer or winter, without running out of juice. It's like having a supercharged battery that just keeps going. A pricey but important mission. Building all these fancy gadgets didn't come cheap. The whole mission, called the Mars Science Laboratory, cost a whopping $2.5 billion. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but think about all the incredible information we've gotten about Mars because of it. In the end, it's been totally worth every penny. Now let me tell you about the name Curiosity. NASA always takes naming their rovers seriously, and they love to get kids involved. For Curiosity, they held an essay contest back in 2009, where students from all across the United States could suggest a name and explain why they picked it. A sixth grader from Kansas named Clara Ma came up with Curiosity, and her essay won the whole contest. In her essay, Clara wrote something super inspiring. She said, "Curiosity is an everlasting flame that burns in everyone's mind. It makes me get out of bed in the morning and wonder what surprises life will throw at me that day. Curiosity is such a powerful force. Without it, we wouldn't be who we are today. Curiosity is the passion that drives us through our everyday lives. We have become explorers and scientists with our need to ask questions and to wonder." NASA absolutely loved how she captured the spirit of exploration in her words. And that's how the rover got its name. Curiosity reminds us that the drive to explore and discover is something we all share. It's not just about what's out there on Mars, but what's inside us as humans too. With all that money and high-tech gear, what has Curiosity found on Mars? Let's explore that. The Discoveries by Curiosity. Curiosity's mission on Mars has been nothing short of groundbreaking. The discoveries it has made have really changed how we think about the red planet. First and foremost, Curiosity actually found organic compounds on Mars. It collected rock samples from Gale Crater and discovered that these rocks had organic molecules in them. These molecules include carbon, which is a key ingredient for life. In fact, these organic compounds could have been used as building blocks or even food for life if it had ever existed on Mars. But why is this such a big deal? Well, finding organic compounds on Mars suggests that the planet might have had the right conditions to support life at some point, even if it never actually did. Scientists looked at the isotopes in carbon dioxide and methane, and the data they found could fit with ancient biological activity. However, it's also possible that these findings come from non-living processes, like interactions between sunlight and carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere. So, we don't have a final answer yet, but it's super intriguing. This discovery has fired up a lot of curiosity, pun intended, for future studies. Curiosity is still digging into the mysteries, and it's inspiring other missions to look for more signs of life beyond Earth. Another interesting thing Curiosity found was fluctuations in the amount of methane in Mars's near-surface atmosphere. On Earth, a lot of the methane in our atmosphere comes from living things, but on Mars we aren't sure yet. While Curiosity can't say for sure if the methane it found came from biological sources, it's a clue that something biological could be happening on Mars. It's like a mystery that needs more investigation. Curiosity has also helped scientists figure out the age of rocks on Mars. In Gale Crater, the rocks were formed about 4 billion years ago. They later moved to an area called Yellowknife Bay, where they turned into sedimentary rocks. Then, around 70 million years ago, these rocks were exposed to radiation because of erosion and weathering. This timeline is important because it helps scientists understand how fast Mars's surface is eroding and how radiation might affect any organic compounds trapped in the rocks. And this could be key to spotting signs of past life. One of the most exciting things Curiosity has revealed is Mars' watery past. We all know water is essential for life, right? Well, the rocks in Gale Crater tell a story of Mars being a planet with water long ago. Curiosity found a mineral called jarosite, which only forms in the presence of water. This means there was definitely water on Mars at some point. What's even cooler is that Curiosity's experiments showed this jarosite was younger than expected, which hints that liquid water might have existed below the surface even after the planet started drying out. If that's true, it means Mars could have been habitable for much longer than scientists originally thought. Curiosity has also given us clues about how Mars went from being a warm, wet planet to the cold, dry place it is today. One of the ways it did this was by studying water on Mars. Curiosity measured the ratio of deuterium to hydrogen in water samples, which helped scientists figure out that hydrogen has been escaping from Mars for a long time. As hydrogen escapes, water is lost, so this helps explain why Mars dried up over time. This has given scientists a better understanding of how the planet's climate has changed over billions of years. Another huge surprise from Curiosity's mission was finding nitrogen on Mars. And not just any nitrogen, but fixed nitrogen, which is the form that life can use. On Earth, nitrogen is really important for life, but it has to be fixed to be usable by living things. Curiosity found fixed nitrogen in the form of nitrate in some rock samples, which suggests that about 3.5 billion years ago, there was usable nitrogen on Mars. This means that Mars could have had the necessary ingredients for life to exist at some point. The Perseverance rover. Now, after the Curiosity rover had a great mission on Mars, NASA decided to send another rover, and they called this one Perseverance. It took off on July 30th, 2020, and landed on Mars on February 18th, 2021. This time, it touched down in a place called Jezero Crater. Scientists think that Jezero Crater used to be the site of a river and a lake a long time ago, so it's a great spot to search for signs of life that might have existed there in the past. The landing process for Perseverance was pretty wild. It entered Mars's atmosphere at around 12,000 miles per hour, which is seriously fast. Like Curiosity, it went through something NASA calls the 7 minutes of terror. That's the amount of time it takes to slow down, pop open a parachute, and use a special sky crane to lower itself gently onto Mars. All of this had to happen by itself, because Mars is so far away that Earth couldn't help in real time. Thankfully, everything went smoothly, and Perseverance landed safely, ready to begin its mission to search for life. Now, about the rover itself. Perseverance is about the size of a car, like Curiosity, but with some major improvements. It has new scientific tools that help study Mars in greater detail. One cool feature is something called Moxy, which is a device that can make oxygen from the Martian air. I'll explain more about that in a bit. Perseverance also has a lot of high-tech cameras and sensors. 19 cameras, in fact, which is more than any other mission. These cameras take high-definition pictures and videos of Mars. They help scientists understand the planet's surface and look for signs of ancient microbial life. Plus, the rover has a drill that collects samples of rock and soil, which will be saved in tubes for a future mission to possibly bring back to Earth. The wheels on Perseverance have been redesigned to be tougher and have better grip, which is important for handling Mars's rough terrain. Just like Curiosity, Perseverance is powered by something called a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. This uses heat from decaying plutonium-238 to make electricity, which keeps the rover going all year long. Perseverance came with a tiny sidekick, the Ingenuity helicopter. The Ingenuity helicopter. Ingenuity arrived on Mars attached to the Perseverance rover on February 18, 2021. It was an experimental mission to test if a helicopter could actually fly in Mars's thin atmosphere, which is only 1% as dense as Earth's. At first, Ingenuity was set to make 5 flights over 30 Martian days, each lasting up to 90 seconds and reaching heights between 10 and 16 feet. The goal was to prove that controlled flight on Mars was possible, but Ingenuity blew everyone away. After its initial flights, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory decided to extend its mission. Ingenuity then started helping with exploring Mars by scouting areas that interested Perseverance. This made navigation easier and provided aerial data that rovers alone couldn't easily gather. The technology in Ingenuity is really impressive. It weighs just 4 pounds and has counter-rotating blades that spin at around 2,400 revolutions per minute, which is much faster than helicopters on Earth. It also has solar panels to recharge its batteries and comes equipped with a navigation camera and a communication system to send data back to Perseverance. Over nearly 3 years, Ingenuity completed 72 flights, flying for a total of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 48 seconds over 1,004 Martian days. It traveled more than 17 kilometers, showing how tough it is and how useful aerial scouts can be in exploring other planets. Unfortunately, on January 18, 2024, during its 72nd flight, Ingenuity's rotor blades got damaged while landing, which grounded the helicopter for good. NASA announced the end of its mission a week later. Still, Ingenuity made some amazing discoveries while working alongside Perseverance. So, what did Perseverance discover? The discoveries by Perseverance. When scientists decided that Perseverance would land in Jezero crater, they weren't sure what kinds of rocks they would find there. Some thought the floor might be covered in ancient lava flows, while others believed the rocks were probably sedimentary, moved by wind or water. During its first year on Mars, Perseverance made an unexpected discovery. It found several types of igneous rock, including lava flows and rocks formed from slowly cooling magma. These igneous rocks had crystals that provided clues about how and when they formed. Some even showed signs of having interacted with water, hinting that they could hold records of conditions that might have supported microbial life. If scientists can bring these samples back to Earth, they could learn a lot about Mars's interior, its volcanic history, and the age of the geological formations in Jezero crater. On February 16, 2022, Perseverance took a stunning panoramic view of a spot called Santa Cruz. This panorama, made from 24 images, helped scientists examine the boulders and landscape in Jezero crater more closely. Later, at a rock formation named Wildcat Ridge, located in Jezero's well-preserved sedimentary fan deposit, Perseverance found signs of an ancient lake environment. These sediments were likely deposited in a standing body of water and continued interacting with water long after they formed. The environments captured in these rocks would have been suitable for ancient microbial life. Plus, this type of rock is great for preserving potential signs of life. Perseverance has also uncovered a more intricate water history in Jezero crater than scientists originally thought. They already knew that a lake once filled the crater, but new images from Perseverance showed that sediments were deposited in a delta, suggesting a dynamic water history. The rover also found signs of high-energy flooding that brought large boulders into the crater. However, scientists are still trying to figure out where these later floods came from. Moxy and Mars sounds. Beyond its geological finds, Perseverance reached a major tech milestone with Moxy. This device produced oxygen from the carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere for the very first time. Over 16 runs, Moxy created about 4 ounces, or 122 grams, of oxygen, enough to support an astronaut for roughly 4 hours. Can you believe it? This means we can actually make our own oxygen on Mars. After 2 years of operation, Moxy completed its final run in September 2023. Another exciting achievement was capturing sounds on Mars. For the first time, scientists could hear the Martian environment thanks to microphones on Perseverance. The rover recorded sounds like the wind and the noise from its dust removal tool. These recordings showed that sound travels slower on Mars than on Earth due to the thin carbon dioxide atmosphere. The volume of sounds also changes with the atmospheric pressure, which varies with the seasons. During low-pressure seasons, the microphone picked up almost complete silence. Sounds that are easily heard on Earth would be quieter and more muffled on Mars, and high-pitched sounds, like whistles, would be hard to catch. Perseverance didn't make these discoveries alone. Ingenuity, the small helicopter, has been a great help. Both rovers, Curiosity and Perseverance, have sent back incredible evidence to Earth. One of the most recent videos sent by these rovers to NASA includes the first 360-degree view captured by the Curiosity Mars rover and the last panoramic view taken by Perseverance from the final airfield of the Mars Ingenuity helicopter, all in stunning 4K video. These views of the red planet are absolutely amazing. Upcoming missions and the future of Mars exploration. Aside from the ongoing successes of these rovers, what does NASA have planned for the future? Looking ahead in Mars exploration, there's a lot to be excited about. NASA's rovers are currently gathering samples that scientists hope will provide clues about Mars's ancient history and the possibility of past life. However, these samples won't return to Earth until 2033 at the earliest. they will come back through the Mars Sample Return Program. This program is a major initiative by NASA. The plan includes several steps to safely retrieve the samples collected by Perseverance and Curiosity. A lander will land on Mars, pick up the samples, and then launch them into orbit to meet an orbiter that will bring them back to Earth. The dream of living on Mars. While they send the samples back to Earth, the rovers will stay on Mars. Curiosity has already made some amazing discoveries about whether Mars can support life. It has found signs of ancient water and studied the planet's climate, giving scientists valuable information. Curiosity will keep doing its thing alongside Perseverance, and both rovers will continue exploring the Martian surface, conducting experiments that could help us understand more about our neighboring planet. But collecting samples isn't the only goal. There's a much bigger dream at play: living on Mars. NASA is working hard to make this dream a reality, with plans to eventually send humans to the Red Planet. They're planning for the future, aiming for missions that will pave the way for human colonization. And they're not the only ones dreaming big. Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, has set his sights on colonizing Mars too. Musk envisions a future where people live in self-sustaining colonies on Mars. He sees cities filled with people, farms growing food, and communities thriving in a completely different world. SpaceX is actively developing the Starship spacecraft to make this vision come true. Starship is designed to carry a lot of people and cargo to Mars and other destinations in space. Plus, it's reusable, which is super important for reducing costs and making frequent trips possible. But Musk isn't stopping at just building Starship. He's also proposed using local resources on Mars to create essentials like water, oxygen, and building materials. Imagine being able to produce what you need right there on Mars. The goal is to create a self-sustaining environment where people can live and thrive without having to depend on Earth for everything. This means figuring out how to grow food, generate energy, and build shelters using what Mars has to offer. NASA is on board too, collaborating with SpaceX on several projects. They're working together to develop the technology and strategies needed for human missions to Mars. It's a massive team effort to make sure that when humans finally set foot on Mars, they'll be ready to stay for the long haul. While NASA and SpaceX push forward with their ambitious plans, many challenges lie ahead. The harsh environment on Mars poses significant risks, including extreme temperatures, high radiation levels, and low atmospheric pressure. Overcoming these obstacles will require innovative solutions in areas like habitat design, radiation protection, and life support systems. Additionally, ensuring the safety of astronauts during the long journey to Mars and back is a top priority. There are also ethical considerations about potentially contaminating the Martian environment. Despite these hurdles, the dream of living on Mars continues to inspire scientists, engineers, and space enthusiasts worldwide. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments section. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos. While you're still here, click the video on your screen to see more interesting content like this one.